program is Flipside. For those who just joined us, you only missed that report, but you know that we always upload the complete edition of the show on YouTube so that from tomorrow you can actually watch every bit of it that you've missed. But try as much as you can stay with us all through and run this 1 hour with us because you will be learning a lot. Our topic today is youth and get rich quick schemes, and that's what we're talking about. I said we have 3 guests in the house who will be talking about this with me. So quickly, you're going to meet the only lady amongst them. I'm talking of Ayo Ame Ediaye. It's good to have you here. Yes, you can actually see the Guest Power Initiative crested t-shirt she's wearing. She is the Acting HOD Youth Development Get Power Initiative. So it's good to have you on the show. Okay, next to her is someone you've seen on television, in fact, almost as much as you've seen me. I have a Reverend Emeka Ekuga in the house. Good to have you on the show. So
Thank you, Viz.
As a public analyst, as a pastor, he's many things. And he's also a political analyst. I've heard him talk politics before. Okay, and then we have our finance correspondent in the house, Uyi Abumofege. He's also a newscaster, but he's really, when you talk finance and also technology, God, you need to turn to this guy. So it's good to have you on Flipside today.
Thank you, Daisy, for having me.
Second time or?
A third time.
Third time,
yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're talking about youth and get rich quick schemes. I'm going to start with you, Reverend. Why is it that these get rich quick schemes are increasing every time? When I was much younger, I knew the only get rich quick schemes I've heard about was Planware that came, that failed, and 419.
Right.
Yes, there was always 419, and maybe money rituals. But
money doubling.
Money doubling, that's the same 419 too now, money doubling. Then money rituals, it wasn't even so common. We just know that some very elderly men do it. But in our time, there are several get rich quick schemes that are coming up. So it's increasing every time. And we even have more youths getting into this than it used to be in time past. So why do you think this is happening in this time?
Well, you said something yesterday, but that does not mean I should not go into this issue very deep.
Of course.
It's just very simple. It's end time.
Okay.
It's end time. You made a statement just now. When we are growing up, we do hear this man is a money ritualist. Maybe use the father or use the mother, but it was not common.
No.
You hardly look at them face to face and say this person did such a thing. It was very secretive. But today it is something unbearable. It's something everybody look around and said, why is this kind of things going on? Not only a matter of end time, it's as a matter of greediness. You see a little boy, you see either your mate's father is a politician or a rich man, has an empire of business, doing well. Maybe the little boy of your age is pulling on a C-class Mercedes. You want to make sure you also belong to that very class. And before you know it, you go into this internet fraud. Not only internet fraud, you heard about people traveling to Ghana. I don't know when Ghana has become a money-making country. You see little boys, if they connived with some native doctors in one village, they will leave the state, they will go to Ghana, they will come back, they say, you know, they have made it. I don't know how Ghana is, I don't know, I don't just know. The major reason is because children don't want to be, you know, contented with what they have. Children these days, even not just children, the one we saw in the television is about 18 years old.
Yes.
And imagine such a little boy who just want to become very rich. He must have seen some age mates in that category. He wants to make it. He wants to use, what do you call the highest phone today?
iPhone X.
X what?
iPhone XS.
iPhone XX. He want to use, he want to use the highest phone. You know. He want to dress and tear the trouser, wear low waist. He want to wear the best fashion. He want to put up one clothes or the other like celebrities. And by so doing, they want to get involved in anything. Use the word anything. You know, it's uncalled for and it's abhorrent. I must say this. But at the same time, why are all these things going on today? Check it out. Our parents contribute to it. Most our parents contribute to it. When I was growing up, if I happened to take somebody's exercise book, my father will ask me for what? Who owns it? You know, you go outside and you buy anything and come home. Who gives you money? And we grow with that fear. We grow with that fear. But today, go outside and buy Nokia phone or even a iPhone and give to a man over there who doesn't know what life is all about again now. He will become very appreciative. You said, oh, good boy. My boy has arrived. You bring money anywhere you can, nobody cares. Our pastors will also be talked to in that regard too. You're a minister of God. God called you. The young boy in your church is into internet fraudster, and he brings good money and give to you. You raise shoulder, you have arrived. The security personnel will also come into the system. This set of group of people contributes why the thing is becoming rampant today, because nobody comes out to talk. But I want to drop a word before I allow my colleagues here to speak, give their own view, because I'm not the only one here today. I want to drop a word here that both you that aid them and then themselves that is also going into the system, and those who are watching that also preparing to go into the system, one day they will also reap what they are sowing, because judgment is very clear and sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now I'm going to talk to you, Oyi, now. Is there any get-rich-quick scheme that isn't some sort of scam? Is there any? Because they keep coming up every time, and God, I've been a victim of one. I'm not going to expose myself on national TV. But is there anyone that isn't really a coded scam?
Okay, on the one hand, yes, you want to say it's a scam, but let's take it off from where it should be addressed from. The gentleman here already created a perspective for this conversation, right? But let's try to beat that into shape a bit further. Whatever we're seeing in society right now, it's an overall reflection of what society is. So one boy at the age of 18 kills his mom, rapes the cops because he wants to make a lot of money. In the front analysis, it is what society has become. I'm a very young person, all right? I'm not married yet, I'm not a parent yet, but I've seen parents, I grew up with parents, all right? Times have changed and times are changing very fast. Now, to answer your question directly, there isn't any. There isn't any, but again, people must understand that get-rich-quick schemes are, in most cases, they are a fluke, number one. Then number two, they are short-termed, as it were. So, as they say in English, nothing stays forever. So people want to take advantage for as long as they can, while offer lasts, that kind of thing. But again, it's also a reflection of the fact that society has become very myopic. People are now much more into short-term thinking than we ought to be projecting for the future, than we ought to be futuristic. And that's also a reflection of our value system overall, because it now puts a question mark on what we place premium on, what we value, the things we value. Do we have the same value today as we did a decade ago, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago? Of course, the answer is no. So it's also, it underscores the need for us to have a second thought about the things we appreciate and our general outlook on life itself. That's what it is.
Okay, now, is it possible to, you're into youth development in GPI, and I'm sure you've encountered several youths, though most of them might be girls, and they've talked to you. But is it possible to do any of it, get into any get-rich-quick scheme and only lose something?
Thank you very much. From what we've seen so far, there is none. There is something to lose. The thing is, at the initial stage, they don't always spell it. You wouldn't know that this, even though they give you all the criteria, this is what you get to, this is what you will gain and everything, they would always not tell you what you will lose until you are at the middle of it all. So there's always something to lose, but it's not always open to the victims that are involved. Like he was talking about the cause and reason for this. We have the way people have glorified wealth. People see wealth as something, if two people are standing and one is not having, the other is having, they are abandoned. You see everybody rushing after those that have money. So we have placed so much value on money, on wealth, that we now lose our values, like he earlier mentioned. They need to understand that it is hard work for you to make it. There is honesty, there is integrity. All of these have been misplaced somehow, and our parents have a lot to do in terms of bringing these back into the society.
Okay, for those who just joined us, the program is Flipside, and we have a long way to go. But before we get into that, we need to go on a quick break. You know, the Miss ITV Hot Legs and Fashion on the Runway 2018 edition is this month. So on the 25th of November is the deal day. So for those who do not know what the program is about, you need to get aware. We'll be right back quickly. Thank you so much for staying with us. The program is still Flipside. We're talking about youth and get rich quick scams. We've talked about several things. And now moving on with the show, I would go back to you, Uwe. Is it possible that one can actually get addicted to the schemes? Maybe that's why maybe it's like cocaine, hence it will never fade from the markets. People will still want to get to use it. Is it possible to get addicted to
it
this?
It is very, in fact, it is not only possible, it is very easy. I think people are having these days what I call racy thoughts. People don't take their time to think through their thoughts. People are more sporadic now with action. So something hits your mind, you don't get to have a second thought about it, then you switch quickly to action. That's what we're having right now. So I take a mind back to 2016, for instance, late 2015, early 2016, when these Ponzi schemes became like a big bang around here, and of course grew. It was 1, 2, 3, at the point we're counting like over 200 different Ponzi schemes across this country. And people were just moving from one platform to another. That's how it works. So at a point, you just realize that if the first one paid, if you got anything at all, whether it was big or small from the first one, so in your head, you're thinking, chances are you will get something off the next one. So you're going to move from that to the next, to the next, to the next. It's like being addicted to drug or something. And then what doesn't make that even any easier for you is the fact that we live in a society where, well, people are very superficial these days. Nobody wants to think in depth. Nobody wants to take their time to do something that's solid. Everybody's pedestrian in their thoughts and actions. So getting addicted is much easier than you can ever imagine.
Okay. Reverend, is it possible that this could be one of the solutions to the poverty ravaging our society today? Because I know I've gone through town and I've seen some really poor families building beautiful houses, and they've been taking off their one-room apartments to a big building. So could this possibly be helping poverty alleviation?
I don't think so. Absolutely no. Because it's not, prosperity is not because you build a house. It's not because you ride a very big car. Your mother was frying a car, and there's now an ITV owner. You know, that is not prosperity. And poverty is not because you've not built a house. You can only be poor when you look at yourself and say you have nothing to offer for yourself. I've seen a woman that fries akara. With akara, train the children to universities. With akara today, she is a landlady. It's when you do anything and you trust to God, He will definitely bless the works of your hand. So you're trying to use internet, fraudster, Yahoo, ritualists to become rich and to eradicate poverty in the nation. I don't think it's the rightful direction.
Okay, now I'll still stay on you, Reverend. Now there's this thing churches do that I don't know. Maybe it's a bit disturbing to me, but it might not be bad to some other person. So since I have a church man here, let me just ask you straight now. They do this thing that looks like auction. You know, there's a need in church, and then you go, or maybe there's a prophecy that comes, and you say the first 10 people to come out with 500,000 gets this picture, and people begin to come up. And then they even tell you, if you don't have the money to pay, if you believe, get a paper, put down your name and all that. Then sometimes they beat it down to the next 100 people who are going to pay 100,000, then keeps going down to sometimes even 1,000 naira. And then they're like, everybody must have 1,000 naira. Come out now, come on now. Is that really the right way to seek for fun in the church?
I don't think it is wise to impose on people to bring out money for the kingdom business. If God wants to use me, He has the best way to talk to me. If the church has a project, you can easily call the members. How many of you can do this? But for you to come here and say, bring out 1 million, 10 persons, 20 persons, 1 million persons, and the people are rushing out, you get to a standard, you get to this, you get to that, you get to that. Well, in two options. If you are led and God is the one that talks to you, good and fine. If it's not God that talks to you and they want to kind of force people into it, it's also on your own. It's between you and your God. And those who believed, they might have believed because they believe in you. And those who comes out to say, I don't have, I write paper, and tomorrow you don't have it to pay. You know what the Bible said about that too? You that make a vow did not pay, you are a fool. So you should not do what you know is not God. But let me stop so far in that area.
Because church is actually doing that a lot, and we have people being forced to get money just to meet up with targets from the church. Now, how do I protect myself? Now, we had already said that it's addictive to get it's get-rich-quick schemes are quite addictive, and the Reverend had said we easily get sucked into all of this because of what society is now. But if I don't want to fall a victim of these get-rich-quick schemes, they're everywhere now, and the hunger is plenty. How do I protect myself from being a victim of this?
Thank you. One of the ways to protect yourself is build in you values. Personally, I always work with values, and I always talk about it. You take values from different angles. You get from your families. As you are going up, you get to build your own values. And with that, you already have a direction that you are going to. Having that direction, it will be difficult for anybody to toss you around because you already know where you are going to. So for those that don't have a plan, they don't have a goal, they've not set anything for themselves. So it's where the wind blows. That is where they are going. So first of all, when you have a plan, it is difficult for you to see all of these Ponzi, get-rich-quick scheme coming up, and you want to get yourself involved in it. And one thing, I'm so glad with this abolishing of spraying of currencies at parties and all that. In fact, it's a plus. For us to get that, one of the things that gets people involved is they want to show off. And if these things have been cancelled, where are you going to show off this fund you've gotten, whichever way you've gotten that fund? There is no more parties for you to get to be spraying it, and then people are shouting, wow, he is spraying money or she is spraying money. So I'm so glad when I heard that they are finally going to cancel that. So the reasons those people are going into get rich, if you ask what are they using it for, it's not even for them to take care of themselves as in they are satisfied with themselves. It's to please the society. It's to get people like see me and then say, oh, this is a person reigning, I want to be like this and all that. Not necessarily for themselves. And so that is an issue. So they should be able to take a stand and don't get tossed around with what you see around or what people are doing around. And another thing I would really want to add to what I've been said so far, for parents, they should learn to give birth to the number of children they can adequately take care of. I would always talk about this anytime I have the opportunity to. They should always, they should just have to. Because this is one of the reasons they have children everywhere. And then the children are now for themselves. Everybody needs to take care of themselves. And then before you know it, the child is going into one scheme or thinking of how to make money. And then the parents are shifting their responsibilities to the children. And then they are satisfied with it. So we just have to go back to our values. In those days, when you get to hear about a family, what stands in that family is when they mention that name. Oh, you just hear that in that family, there is nothing like stealing. Or if anything happens, you can beat your chest and say, this family, they are not part of it. These are values that have been built over time. And somehow, because we have young mothers, even children, giving birth to children, so how would they take care of those children? What exactly are they going to be passing to those kids? Because they themselves, they don't even understand parenting. And then they are parents on their own. So it becomes a problem. I think that values need to come back. And then we have to be contented with what we have. We have to be satisfied with what we have. Reverend talked about being rich doesn't have to mean building houses and having so much money. It has to have to be peace of mind. If you have, for those that are doing all these things, I tell you, some of them don't sleep. They are at war with themselves. You see them smiling, but what is in them is bigger than what you can actually see. That is not riches. That is not prosperity. So they need to be satisfied with what they have. They need to work within the limits of their capacity, what they have. They need to work within the limits.
Okay, now, you did say something about being content with what you have. I can just imagine how much struggle it took for us to have a minimum wage of 30,000 naira, which has not yet been implemented. So if I have 30,000 naira and I have 2 kids, at least 2 now, what will 30,000 naira do for my 2 children? How am I going to get them education, quality education, clothe them, feed them, and take care of myself, transport them? Things are so freaking expensive in the market today. So I think maybe you should help us a little bit. How do we improve on our finances without actually getting involved in any fraudulent activity?
First of all, I'm not a fan of the idea that government is responsible for every negative thing that happens to us.
Thank you.
So I'm not a guy who wakes up and thinks the reason I can't brush my teeth first thing in the morning is because government has not provided paste. But I also think that there's a systemic element to this problem, all right? And it's society-wide, as it were, because come to think of it, first of all, you're looking at a system that's in a way, unwittingly creates poverty. All right, because you just made allusion to the issue of the minimum wage, for example, which is still a political debate as it stands right now. So how do you expect a man, for instance, with 3 children with a wife somewhere to be able to, as my mom would say, meet up, all right, even with 30,000, which of course as it stands right now we know is still 18,000 minimum wage. Of course somebody has said nobody actually receives 18,000, but take it or leave it, it's a benchmark, all right, so it's 18,000. But be that as it may, the point again is, the reality we have in front of us today now places a demand on us to be more innovative. I begin to think about ways to expand our source of income, create multiple streams of income. And they've got to be legit. That's another challenge we're going to have to deal with. This is a country, again, where you fundamentally have the challenge of starting a small business. Business registration, we understand, is getting better now. The whole system is being eased up. But how do you even get that seed money, that seed fund, to get your business off the ground? Because somebody is going to tell you, well, you have to be self-employed for you to survive in this kind of economy. But you see, it's not as easy as we see in Nollywood movies, all right? I mean, even if you get money, say as small as 50 or 100,000 from a microfinance institution, first of all, you already know the business you want to do. You have all your plans drawn out. But starting up that business can pose its own challenge, given the peculiarities of the environment where we live in. So how do people live in this kind of environment? It means, first of all, they must look inward and see what they can do, because people make money because they can bring value. That's natural rule. All right, what value can you bring, and how would that value change someone's life positively in specific ways? Because people have got to pay you for whatever value you're bringing, whatever problems you're solving. That's how it works. So as it stands today, what have you learned? What skills have you acquired that you can bring to the marketplace, as it were, to say this is what I'm exchanging for money? You've got to have that. I mean, we're not negotiating it. It's what it is. So if you're a carpenter, then you're going to have to raise your game. Brand your product, whatever it is you're making, even if it's just tools you're making, or Joko, as we know it, for example. Do it from, be different from the crowd. That's what's going to give you what they call competitive edge, which means that people must be responsible for themselves as it stands right now. So we don't want to wake up tomorrow morning and we say the reason I went to do money ritual, the reason I got hooked on one get-rich-quick scheme or another is because government is not doing anything about my life. Let's also face it, even though we know it's the place of government to provide basics for its citizens, there's no government that actually would make your life better. All government is going to do for you is to ensure that you have the enabling environment. So what you do with that environment is totally on you. So in the case of Nigeria, for example, you know, our story is always different, one way or another. How do we address this issue? First of all, I said a while ago, look inward, look at what kind of value you can bring, even if it's just basically to go to homes to teach children after school 3 or 4 times a week. Is a brilliant starting point. It may not look very, flamboyant at the beginning. It may not look very impressive or spectacular. But you see, there's something beautiful about small beginnings. It's very important. We've got to learn that. I mean, I'd been at a point in my life where I had to teach basic computing to people in their offices. At the point I was teaching to permanent secretaries, I was teaching to directors of ministries in Benin City here, not abroad anywhere, in Benin City here. So it's because I looked inward and knew that I could do that. I could bring some value, and I got paid for it. The point here is we must look beyond whether government is doing something or not. We can have that conversation some other time. But for today, we've got to stay alive. And one way to do that is to ensure we have long-term thinking.
So you've all been doing fantastic, and I've had fun. I've enjoyed myself. But we have to go, so we're just going to conclude right now. I'm going to let everyone have their say. Whatever they encourage for your belay when you want to talk, you can now say it. I think I'll start with the Reverend.
Right, thank you. Let me conclude with this. But before I give my concluded word, let me react to what my beloved sister answered to you when you ask a question, how can one overcome,
getting falling prey?
Yes. Just take this to your mind. Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. When you are greedy, definitely you fall into the hands of these fraudsters. Can you imagine when somebody is in the vehicle with you? You just enter the vehicle and somebody said, Oga, stop me here, open your boot. And all of a sudden he said there is too much of dollars inside the
right
boot.
In the trunk.
I know that story.
And he said, Oga, how did you get this money? He said, one alhaji. Then they will call on you, madam, are you seeing that? This guy said he gets dollar inside boot. We get to share this dollar. What business has you with somebody's dollar?
That you want to share from it.
You want to share from it. It's because you are greedy. And because you are greedy, whether you like it or not, they must have done one native thing or the other. I don't know how to put it again. And the ordinary answer to them, you are in for that. You will sell your mommy's gold, you will sell silver, you will pack all the clothes, you will pack all the money, you will ransack everywhere. You would want to get money to make sure you give to these people you want to share money with. If you're not greedy and they tell you, go and bring certain, what am I bringing these things for? It's not dollar that is there. So we've been saying all these things before. Greediness is responsible to this. Then let me address those who are into these fraudsters and rituals. You are tech, you want to build the best house, ride the best car, possibly put on the best clothes, wear the best shoe. Then you go to club, you party. Fine. Don't forget those who have done this before. I am sure if you go to some villages, you see some 3-story buildings, 4-story buildings. It has been covered with, leaves and trees, inside and outside. And the owners are no more. And their children are unable to even lay a hand on those things. It's all over, everywhere. Everywhere. It is not the way you started it, it will end. It will one day backfire. And when you started paying for it, perhaps your generations will keep paying for it. Because already you put your generation into debt. So to our parents, I advise, it is better for your children to bury you than for you to bury your children. And when you give room to all these things, one day you will pay for it. Then to co-ministers, I want to also appeal that the best way we can be able to stop most of these things is to tell the people the truth. Can I tell you something? My brother made a very powerful statement here. The country cannot cater for all your needs. 30,000 minimum wage. But you cannot tell me in a month you spend only 30,000. You wait to get in a month. God has a way he sustains his children. We don't believe in the, I don't personally believe in the economic of the country. I believe in the heaven supply all my needs according to his riches in glory. He can use this man anywhere he may be. God can send him and say, my son has a need, go and impart in his life. God can do anything, and he does everything. So I want to advise, stick on God. There is nothing he cannot do. If God bless you, nobody can curse you. If he bless the works of your hand, nobody can challenge with you. The person is running, I am running. Everybody is going in one direction or the other. I am doing well, you are doing well. In the sight of God, you will have peace and joy. But when you're involved in trying to get all these things because somebody else is getting those things and doing it the way they are doing it, you will miss the road. Thank Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, now what do I expect from the pastor? Okay, so Ayo, let me have you.
My brief final words is that for families that would always want to push their children into going into this, they should always understand that the get-rich-quick scheme is not sustainable. It's never sustainable. And for those that would want to involve themselves, to soil their hands in blood, they would always need things to renew and renew. And for families that would want to assist and support such situation, who knows, it may even be them that will be used to renew these things.
No, it's true. That is true.
My final take is work within what you have. Just look inward. There must be something, like Oyi mentioned, value. There must be something you have in you that can always pave way. It may not be big, it may not start so much, but you can start from somewhere. And from there, the sky will definitely be your elements.
Okay, so thank you. Let's have you.
I think I've looked carefully. No country has become great economically, politically, and otherwise on account of people getting involved in get-rich-quick schemes, right? It's taking the efforts of individuals who intentionally made plans for today and the future to say this is where we're going. So they had a vision and they pursued with time, money, energy, and every other form of resource that they've got. I think that's the kind of conversation we should be having going forward, right? Not just on the part of government alone, but even individuals. We must begin to ask, what will my life count for today and tomorrow? And we must live our life along that direction. It may take a while. It may look like you don't know what you're doing, because we live in a society where people are ranked based on the quality of car they drive, the kind of house they live in, the kind of clothes they wear, the amount of watches they wear, and so on and so forth. But we must look beyond being superficial and look at the things that have depth, the things that have significance, and the things that bring long-term, lifelong value.
Okay, and I'm going to say thank you to my guest. And I even think, last week we had this very long, interesting conversation on internet fraud. I think the internet, social media has come to make our lives worse sometimes. We have a bigger platform to flaunt wealth that are not gotten genuinely, or even flaunt wealth that you don't even have. I could Photoshop a very wonderful dress on myself and make the next person feel intimidated. I could even borrow the dress, the label will still be at the back and you would not know. You would go and look for money to buy it. Or I could buy the dress on credit, and when they are beating me in my house to pay back, you won't be aware. You only just see the picture on social media and you're like, my God, I gotta look like this celebrity. I think we should pick our mentors carefully when we do pick them. The people who are very rich, like Bill Gates, like Mike Zuckerberg, we don't really see them flaunting expensive things.
They are the jean and t-shirt boys.
Yeah, they're always on jean t-shirt, and then they use very weird
Nika.
phones. Their phones are not really
drive on bicycle.
Right. Bicycles, yeah, on the streets. But for those who have very little, they overblow things, and it's all razzmatazz and paparazzi everywhere. So I think we need to be careful the kind of mentors we're picking as youngsters, so that we'll place values on the right thing. And even government, yes, I know we should not hammer so much on government, but they should make the environment conducive. Nigerian environment is not really conducive. Over taxation, policies that keep changing with each administration that comes. When you even have a business, the taxation, I think, the taxation right now needs to be worked on. You pay big money to clear dirt. You pay big money for your table. You pay big money for everything. You just keep paying, and we're not seeing what we're paying for. We all need to come together to work on this. And my last question to all of you: why Ghana? Are they so rich? I'm yet to find a Ghanaian as one of the richest people in the world. So why are we all going to Ghana and coming back with so much money? Ladies, be careful the kind of things you're believing from these guys. They will use you, and when you come back, we'll only hear the story. All right, that's just on a lighter note. But ladies, really be careful. I'm Daisy Vice. I want to thank you so much for being with us on the show today. Next week, we'll talk about something else, another social issue that needs to be addressed. All right, so for now, have yourself an amazing rest part of the day, and don't stop watching ITV. Bye.